Some other guy has got something better than you. Just the facts of life, right? Well, some of us who play games get fairly green eyes fairly often. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 things that make every gamer jealous. At number 10 is a kick-ass console or PC setup. Of course, obviously. The most basic dream of all gamers, to have the perfect space to do all your gaming. You got a big TV, bunch of monitors on your PC, a big comfy PC chair, all the purple gamer lights a wannabe streamer could ever want, blah blah blah. There are some amazing setups online. They're not hard to find. There's an entire Reddit dedicated to this stuff. Actually, multiple Reddits. They're pretty much the ubiquitous gamer dream. We all want a big space, lots of room for the consoles, the PC equipment, but it's a dream only a select few of us are actually capable of achieving. The biggest issue is, of course, space. Most of us just game in the living room or our bedrooms, but if you want the ultimate setup, you're going to need a dedicated space for it, especially if you're sharing the house with people who aren't into the idea of covering walls with monitors and erecting giant shelves full of gaming detritus. You need room for an office or a basement, which means you need a big house or an apartment with a spare room in it, which isn't exactly an achievable goal for everyone out there. Even if you do have the space, actually going out and creating the perfect gamer cave isn't always easy or straightforward either. It's a lot of work setting up and programming all those LEDs. Well, it's actually supposedly relatively easy, but that doesn't stop me from not knowing how to do it. And it requires a level of dedication not only to learn, but to execute, and it's beyond dragging a couch into a room and buying a $100 TV off Amazon. And once you get all of this stuff in your head and you're thinking about it, like, this would be good stuff, there's always that guy, who's already got it. You've been over to their house a bunch of times, might be a guy, might be a girl, I don't know, but they got everything. Except for the simmering rage boiling up within you as you become increasingly green with envy. They don't have that. You have that. They have all the stuff you want. At number 9, and I don't know, this one might come off a little bit harsh, but having a stable job in your 30s so you can actually afford games and buy everything you want. Remember when you were a kid and you had no money? Sure, you might have had free time, but without that cold hard cash, your gaming prospects were pretty limited. You were stuck scrounging for cash, doing odd jobs for elderly neighbors, mowing grass, raking leaves, and of course the worst, printer stuff. Ugh. You skip lunch, you save up lunch money, and you sell off old games for pennies on the dollar so you can afford the next big game. Maybe that was your past, maybe it's your present. Either way, it sucks. Gaming is an expensive hobby, and sure, there are ways around it now. We've got Game Pass and all those free games on the Epic Store, but some games are going to come around you just got to have right now, and there's no waiting for a sale. It's not going to ever go on Game Pass, it's rated mature, so your parents aren't going to buy it for birthday. Or let's say you're an adult and you just don't have any money. Not great. Going through all this turmoil to get a game is exhausting, and you got to be selective. You can't just get anything you want. You got to pin your hopes on one big purchase, one special Hail Mary of a miracle prayer. Then you find you just blew $60 on a pile of crap that could have gone to something better. Lord knows there's plenty of that nowadays. Hell, $70, $80. Ugh. Having no money is stressful. That's why when we were all kids, we were jealous of adult gamers who could just buy whatever they wanted without a care. That and the economy was a hell of a lot better back then. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Everybody's flush with cash compared to now. Like, there's a lot of people now that are of the age that they should be getting anything they want with their, gainful employment, but they're driving Uber and selling carpets, and they're just not making any money. It's hard out on them streets. The joy of being an adult with an actually decent paying job is, just so much stress is gone. This all only applies if the adult in question isn't married or has major obligations like child support or an aging relative or a caretaker, someone with disability. All that adult money just goes right out the window. Trust me on that one. For the few of us that are lucky to have money that we can just spend on games, you got to try to remember what it was like when you were that kid or when you were poor like 3 or 4 years ago. Appreciate what you've got, man, because it makes everybody else jealous. Moving on to number 8, a massive in-home arcade. This one is those ones that, maybe it's not practical, maybe you don't need it, but don't tell me that hasn't been a dream of yours at some point. Especially if you grew up in a certain era, the era that I stated that I grew up in. There's this nostalgic appeal of the arcade that cannot be overstated. The dim lights, the disco balls, the squiggly pattern carpets, the constant hum of screens trying to catch your attention, and slices of pizza that cost way more than any slice of pizza ever had business costing. Arcades just really have this special place in many I hate to say elder gamers' hearts, but I guess that's the case. A big part of what made them so special were the games that you could play in the arcades. There were home versions of games. They were usually inferior. Now, as the years went on and consoles got better, arcade games and their home ports were pretty much the same. But there was something special about playing them on a proper arcade cabinet. Like, I remember Street Fighter back in the day. Yeah, I loved it on Super Nintendo. But man, going to the arcade and playing it where the sprites were bigger and the sound was better and seemed more responsive. And Super Nintendo was, it could be fast, but Street Fighter 2 in the arcade was badass, man. And when you're a kid, actually owning an arcade cabinet, just one, felt like an impossible dream. It would take Richie Rich money, blank check money to do that. These days, we know that arcade cabinets aren't really that expensive. Your classic cabinet sells for around $2,000 or $2,500 these days, which is a lot of money, but it's not like $2,000 or $2,500 back when arcades were a thing, before, 30 years of inflation. I memean, owning a cabinet isn't outside the realm of possibility for a lot of people, but owning an entire collection of them, that is... It's out of the question. I'm not buying an arcade cabinet anytime soon. I'll tell you that. That's a lot of money that, frankly, I don't have. So when you see these things about people who build an entire arcade in their home, it's hard not to be jealous. Just to having all those big boxes all to yourself, getting the vibes of the arcade without the BO and the beer stains, that would be great. You need a big house to pull it off, which is, kind of makes sense because you're buying like multiple $2,500 things just to have around. The old 1,800 square footer ain't gonna do that. Not if you got kids or a partner or roommates or whatever. Like, can you honestly imagine having like 10 or 20 or 30 arcade games in your house? That's like tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not gonna do the math, but that's a lot of money. It's something that most gamers are never going to be able to see, and also maybe even just willing to spend the money on something that is ultimately pretty frivolous. There is a hidden cost as well. You're not just building an arcade, you have to maintain it as well. A lot of these old arcade games are, well, old and require repairs. It's kind of like most of those like golden era games or CRTs as well, which are notoriously difficult to repair and should really only be attempted by professionals. Like, messing with a CRT is honestly dangerous. A shock from them can be fatal. Working on an arcade cabinet isn't just something any casual enthusiast can just do. So that's another massive expense combined with a lot of potential headaches there. So yeah, owning an in-house arcade, probably more of a pain in the ass than it's worth. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Moving on to number 7, it's a gigantic game collection. If you've seen any video game channel on YouTube with some kind of retro focus, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The giant wall of games in the background. Shelves on top of shelves of every possible game imaginable. These guys have done it. They have the gigantic game collection TM. They've got complete console collections, they've got the rarest and most obscure games, they've got easy access to all of them. If you got any kind of collector's mindset, it's hard not to be jealous of these dragon's hordes of games, because building a collection like that is not easy or cheap, especially anymore. Like, if you're getting into game collecting now, you're going to be envious of the people who got their foot in the door early, or rather, should I say, bought video game systems and games when they were one generation obsolete during the 90s and early 2000s. Like, seriously, you could get NES and SNES and Genesis and PlayStation 1. You could get it all dirt cheap back then. It was common to find this stuff getting sold for pennies at like local game stores or swap meets, or the more enterprising among us got to Craigslist first also. Also, I want to note, I saw a comment on a recent video saying that you guys think I'm 50 based on the cultural stuff. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I'm not 50, I'm 40. I keep saying I'm old, but I mean in gamer years. And when I get to 50, it's gonna be the new 30, okay? Let's back off that a bit, guys. But yeah, talking about the passage of time, everything is expensive. You might get lucky once in a while using Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, which is actually still around. Something like that. There's other things too, like there's local ones for various cities and municipalities. But in general, retro game prices have skyrocketed, so building a proper collection is going to be a costly and frustrating endeavor. It's kind of morbid, but we kind of have to wait for the big-time collectors to croak so all their games flood the market. Maybe then collecting games will be a little cheaper again, even if, that's more of me trying to logic out a way for game collection to become cheaper again. I don't think that will actually make it cheaper now that I think about it. And number 6, the lucky ones who play a game at the height of its popularity. Finally, something that's not entirely money related. Obviously, when you buy a brand new game, that's probably when it's most likely to be popular, and it costs more then. But let's put that aside. If you're into multiplayer games or MMOs or online games of any type, this specific type of jealousy has definitely hit you once or twice. It really sucks when you hear like a ton about a game and you don't have the money or proper rig to buy it at the time, so you have to wait. All you can do is read about the cool stuff going on in the game, and it only gets you more hyped to finally jump in. But when you do, the servers are a ghost town. Only the most hardcore players are still around and want nothing to do with you, and all your friends have already moved on. Anyone who gets to a game on the tail end of its popularity knows this phenomenon well. The problem with online games is they are not eternal. They're entirely dependent around the community around them, and once that community is gone, there's not really anything left to keep it going. Like somebody who's read all those exciting stories about EVE Online, about the massive wars between huge corporations, all the politics and scheming going on behind the scenes, they're going to be kind of disappointed with the game now. It's not dead, but it's definitely not as active as it was in its heyday. The glory days are behind us, and anyone who starts playing now is going to feel that pang of envy when they read about the epic clashes that went down in the game in the past. So many MMOs that are still around in some form had thriving communities in the past, but are now just a shadow of their former selves. You can still play them, of course, but the social experience is just entirely different. Instead of enjoying the game as it was meant to be played with an engaged friend group, you're just wandering around solo while bots spam the general chat. There's a few desperate stragglers around trying to show their e-peen, but that really doesn't do anything but make you seem like you got no real peen. There's just no turning back the hands of time. You'll never be able to relive the glory days. And for those of us that missed out, it's hard not to be jealous of the people who were there for the good times. Number 5 is when you have the free time to actually clear out your backlog. Being an adult isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's awesome to wake up and realize, oh man, I can just buy stuff I want. I'm not dirt poor anymore. Or at least I'm not as dirt poor as I was. It's easy to get games, and with the advent of Steam sales and Humble Bundles and epic giveaways and just straight up free games, it's pretty easy to build up a collection of digital games nowadays. Having all that stuff is easy, actually playing it isn't. When we were kids, it sounded like the best problem to have. Oh yeah, I got too many games. Ah dang, what am I ever gonna do? But what started out as a funny thing to complain about has evolved into a problem that legitimately stresses a lot of people out. Backlog doesn't necessarily mean games you've bought, so this isn't necessarily a money one. Yeah, it's a very minor problem. My backlog is too big. That's kind of lame to complain about, but some people struggle to finish games. They can't focus on a single thing at once. Their brains are too fried after a long day of work, for instance, to concentrate on playing something that's, mentally demanding. We want to play all the games we own, but we don't have the time or focus to do it. And let's face it, they've created a situation that is kind of like the subscription problem where you got 500 subscriptions to 500 different streaming services. The more of them you have, it seems like the less likely you are to watch anything on any of them. Yeah, it's just like that, but with games. At a certain point, you're going to look at people with small or no backlogs with some degree of jealousy. You're going to be envious of people who retired early or got a massive inheritance and don't need to work a day in their lives, or just more basically they don't have to work long hours or have a lot of commitments. Pour one out for the adult gamer with kids. It's easier as they get older, but the gaming time it's never going to be the same. As somebody who gets a pretty fair amount of time for gaming, as it is essentially my job, I do not have a cleared backlog. And if somebody whose job is to play video games and talk about it, observe, report, etc., if we can't clear out a log, I don't know who really can. Like, it's got to be somebody who doesn't have to work at all. Like, you play games for a job, you still have to do the job part. If you play games because you don't need a job, it's just the game part. I'm jealous of that. I'm sure you're jealous of me because I get to play games for a living, but it's not all just that aspect. Like, there's a lot of other things that go into this. But believe me, I sympathize. I haven't always been this fortunate, and I will, again, thank you all for the ability to do this as a job. You are fantastic people. Don't eat me. Falcon it's not as good as chicken, I promise. Don't ask how I know that. And number 4 is skilled PC builders and electrical engineers who can easily fix things. If you're not the technically inclined type, it's inevitable you're going to be jealous of the gamers who are capable of making their own repairs. No matter what kind of electronics you own, repairs are costly and frankly infuriating. You have to deal with crappy customer service, you have to package things, ship them, it'll be gone for weeks. And when it does finally come back, there's no guarantee it's going to work. I've sent stuff to be repaired and it did literally nothing. Trying to get your stuff fixed can just be a nightmare. It would be easier if you could just fix it yourself, right? You could troubleshoot. You crack open cases and have the proper tools. Know what the proper tools even are. You could open things up without breaking anything. You can check traces, repair connections. You could use a soldering iron. That's how to say it, right? I know it's not soldering iron. It better not be. Now, let's not talk about multimeters. I don't know what their use is, even. Forget schematics. I'm not there. I can, kind of work on stuff. But there's a pretty non-zero chance I will break the thing that I am trying to fix, so I don't. Just being able to do something like repair stick drift on a Switch with a simple mod, that would be a nice skill to have. That's a little lower level, right? But some people seem to just be able to do anything. I've seen this guy who's into repairing old PCs, and he was able to build a new PCI card from scratch. He sourced all the capacitors and the chips, reverse engineered the entire thing, created a blueprint, and had a company print the boards out for them. I don't need that. I would like basic repair skills. I mean, at least it's easier to do stuff like that with YouTube tutorials. Having a video to work off of when you're repairing something, it's definitely helpful. I've replaced a few batteries that I shouldn't have any business doing anything like that, thanks to YouTube videos. But yeah, I'll admit it. I'm a little jealous of the guys that make those videos because they know all of that stuff. And number 3, having these skills and patience to turn your dream game into reality. Everyone wants to be a game designer. I have tried many times to learn. I've put lots of effort into it. Probably the amount of effort that somebody who gets it would need to put into it in order to do it. But to make a game, you need a programmer, you need artists, you need a musician. And if you're going to do all of that yourself, like a number of indie game makers have done in recent years, people have become very, very wealthy, like the Undertale guy. He's all those things. Just one of those things is out of reach for most of us, let alone all 3. Making games is hard as hell. I bet the majority of people who play games have at least dabbled in some kind of game-making tool and kicked around the idea of making a game. We've all got that dream game in our heads, the culmination of all things we like in games, or just that idea we think nobody's ever done before or done properly. Very few of us ever actually make the game, though, because seriously, it's incredibly hard. Even people with everything working for them struggle and burn out making games. So it's all the more impressive when somebody manages to make something and put it out in the world. It's especially impressive when it's just like one person. I mentioned Toby Fox, the Undertale guy, but there's also like Tom Francis, who made Gunpoint, and the recent and awesome Tactical Breach Wizards. Those guys were able to turn their dreams into reality. Not just that, they actually turned their hobby into a successful career. Like the Stardew Valley guy is like tens of millions of dollars now. Lots of money. And if he's a savvy man, he has invested it and has significantly more than we know. Hard not to be a little jealous of the possibilities. Forget the success though, just making the games. We're all gamers. We all want to make games. It would be nice to get some recognition for a great idea, you know? The hard part's doing it. And number 2, people who can read Japanese. These days, pretty much everything gets some kind of localization, and if not, some enterprising fan will do it instead. But way back, the only way any of us were ever going to get the chance to play untranslated games is if we could read Japanese. That was the only way. I remember looking on in envy at people who got to play Demon's Souls. Back then, it was never clear if it was going to come to the US. It did, of course, but let's go ahead and bring up Mother 3, right? That game went untranslated for years, and a dedicated fan is the one who did it. Nintendo still hasn't done that. Some games are stuck in Japan for decades. The second Ace Investigations game just now got an official translation in 2024, more than 10 years after it came out in Japan. It used to be Japan was kind of a mythological place full of games we just couldn't play. So anyone who could actually speak the language had access to a whole lot of games we could only look at screenshots of and go, Famitsu, huh? That's how I say it. Did you know that only 258 Saturn games came out in the US? The Sega Saturn in Japan got roughly 1,000 more, 1,265 games. The vast majority of that library is Japan only. And many of its more interesting games have never been translated. If you're really into shmups and JRPGs, you're going to be jealous of people who can actually speak Japanese. Look at me, I'm failing in English here. And finally, at number 1, an entire warehouse full of sealed games. There's your standard game collector we're all jealous of. Was talking about him a few minutes ago. Then there's this, the true motherlode, an entire warehouse full of unopened games and consoles. That's a real pie-in-the-sky dream right there. Not just a wall of games, but a whole building that's just wall-to-wall games that are all in pristine condition. Remember that old game show Supermarket Sweep? If you don't, I don't blame you. I'm old. I would take something like that, though, but for this warehouse. All I need is a shopping cart in 5 minutes, and I'll ransack this friggin' joint. I guess that's probably why it's in an undisclosed location. Seriously, they brought some YouTubers in to check it out and made them not reveal its location. Like it's the warehouse where they dumped the Ark of the Covenant at the end of Raiders. In fact, if any of you ever get to go there, maybe keep your eyes out. I'm sure that's pretty valuable. I mean, we're talking like Commodore 64 nonsense. Yeah, I wasn't kidding. I said I was old. But there was a place called Computer Reset Warehouse. It was literally wall-to-wall old school PC stuff going way back to even the 80s, covering the whole spectrum of condition. They had pallets full of stuff that was like new next to literal garbage. It was a total mess, but man, that would have been a cool place to explore if you're a retro PC guy. Sure, you can be jealous of people who have the resources to own a warehouse full of stuff, but my jealousy is a little more mundane. I'm jealous of people who are lucky enough to even check these places out. I do have one bonus for you, and it was probably the thing that you thought of first if you're even remotely inclined, but a proper gamer girlfriend and or boyfriend. Just throwing this one out. Let's be real. It's the ultimate source of jealousy for a lot of gamers. The dream is getting a significant other who's as into your dumb hobby as you are. Really, that goes for any hobby, but gaming is, the struggle's real, let's say. For many reasons, it's not something that's all that common. I don't want to get into a bunch of dumb gender stuff here because it inevitably gets weird and uncomfortable. Men like this, women like this, blah, 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 blah. Is it nature or is it nurture? It's probably nurture, let's be frank, but it doesn't really matter. It's a fact of life. Every gamer wants a gamer significant other for obvious reasons, but only the lucky few really get to have one. And that's all I've got for you today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.